Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll. In this episode, you'll hear part 2 of my conversation with Whitnee Fountain-Ruiz, a recent graduate of Arizona State University, where she received her master's degree in communication. More links and information about today's conversation can be found on Digication's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Full episodes of Digication Scholars Conversations can be found on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You did have to make some decisions about how you were going to organize it, and it sounds like you got kind of a timeline for the course about kind of what areas were supposed to get filled in at certain times to keep you on track. But did you make decisions about kind of how you wanted to name certain parts of the portfolio? You chose, it looks like, some specific learning outcomes that you wanted to focus on. Were those decisions that you made, or were they part of a template or prompts that you were given? What was that process like?
I think it was a mix of both. For example, there was one section where I needed to speak about the organization and how I was intertwined with the organization. How did I know this organization, or how am I a participant in it? And I had that section split like that, but I also added other things. I added a part on the side just to explain more about the organization, or I showed the social media posts that we had and videos. Actually, a training video that I did that wasn't requested of me, but I showed a training video that I did for the Toastmasters just to show how much I was involved in it and the tools that I used. And I will say that doing the project as a whole, it really pushed me in a way where I learned that I was capable of doing other things that I didn't think I was, especially on a timeline, or on a time crunch.
And so within 8 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like I said, and I got to use so many great tools, especially with AI. I played around with some things, like on Canva, there is like an AI photo generator. And so I created a character, and then I found another website that has AI voices. I think it was called 11 or something like that. And so with this character, I made her a voice and a script, and then I edited the video and I put it all together, and it was something creative that I always want to do. I know I'm capable of doing it. I've been editing since I was 18 for weddings and quinceañeras. And so I know how to edit, but it was just knowing that I could motivate myself to complete a project the way that I want to do it. Kind of like the way that you see other YouTubers do it. And I'm like, hey, I can do this, I always want to, but I never am motivated to. But this project showed me that I could motivate myself and use these new tools to push myself along. And they're really exciting. I mean, it's like a game to me, seeing these new AI stuff. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Creating videos and tools that I can show to future employers,
Yeah, absolutely. And I was curious, when you started this, was this kind of process on reflecting on your learning something that you had done prior to this course, or was this a new kind of process for you too? Not only building the ePortfolio, but having this kind of reflection built in.
Meaning, did I take all the information, for example, all the knowledge that I gained from my whole degree and put it into this?
Oh, well, I was kind of curious. So for some students, they've never been asked. So I think for many students, they go through this process as they're going to school of doing an assignment, turning it in, getting a grade, and moving on.
Yeah.
And for many students, they haven't, before they've gone through a process of creating an ePortfolio, had any kind of time or tool available where they're actually thinking about what they may have learned from that experience and how it may connect to other things that they've learned before or that are part of kind of future things that they want to know. This kind of reflection process is often very new to them. Had you been
Yeah.
asked to do that in any prior courses, or was that a new experience also?
Yeah, in the training and development course, I think we were asked to pick our skills, like a certain amount of skills and competency skills lists. And then we were asked to apply the information that we learned, I think either within that course or within other courses, to each skill. So we had to show examples. So let's say I said that one of my skills was working well with others. Luckily, I take lots of screenshots with meetings and things like that. I was able to show, okay, this is the team. Actually, yeah, I have video too. I said, this is the team that I worked with for this project, and this is how we worked together. I showed them the documents that we made and showed how we worked together as a team. Like, for example, and I've learned this throughout the years, when we have to do a group project, I make sure I'm the first person to create a document, and I put all of our names in the document. As an example, I put my phone number and the times and days that I'm available. And then I make another section like, okay, this is a list of tasks that we might need to do and who wants to take on each task. So that way I'm kind of in control of what
you're setting the stage there.
Yeah. So I showed off a document like that, this is how I worked with the team, and they appreciated it. They loved it because it took off, a lot of them told me that it took off pressure. Even like nobody likes to be the leader. And it wasn't that I was trying to be a leader. I wanted to be the facilitator. That's one of my favorite roles to do, So if there is someone who can't meet up, I'll make sure that I take video of the meeting and send it to them, and I'll make sure that everybody is participant or given the information that is needed so that we can all get a good grade. My friend, she told me, she's like, I'm so glad you're in my group right now because I already know how you work and I know we're going to get a good grade. I did put pressure on myself to get good grades. And the funny thing is I tell my son, don't worry, you don't pressure yourself. But he saw me, and I think that's why he puts so much pressure on himself. He's like, okay, look, you're over there getting A's, Mom, so I guess I have to do it too.
Well, and how incredible for him to get to see you through this experience too. I'm sure it's been incredibly inspiring for him.
Or scary for him for the future.
Yeah, it can be a mix of both.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think my husband says, like, finally, you're not a monster anymore. You're done your school. No, I was stressed, but I think also I might have just put that much stress on myself because, like you were mentioning, a lot of students, they do their work and then they get a grade. And for us, once you get that grade, it's a validation. Okay, now I know either I did good or I did bad and I can fix it or not. But with the Digication, the last one that I did for capstone, we weren't receiving any grades per section. It was like you have to do this whole project and then you'll get the grade at the end. So I think that's what made it scary, or it gave us a little bit of anxiety over it.
It's a bigger project. Yeah. And even though 8 weeks isn't a lot of time, it's still, accumulation of a lot of work and writing about what you've done and what you've achieved. And what I really enjoyed about your ePortfolio also is that you included some really interesting kinds of what we often refer to as kind of pieces of evidence of your learning that people might not think about. So you mentioned you take a lot of screenshots and things of your meetings and videos. And there was one in particular that you shared that I thought was great, that it was actually during, I think it may have been a training or educational exercise, but it was something where the technology was not working.
Oh, yes.
And we've all been there, right?
Yes.
But you shared that because you wanted people to see, this is how I was trying to problem solve in the moment. And this is what I learned from that experience and things that I'll do going forward should I be in that kind of situation again. And at Digication, when we're creating this platform, we're always thinking about ways that students can always have an opportunity to share who they are and what they know and their successes, of course. But we really also want it to be that place where they can celebrate the whole person. And that includes the challenges that they've encountered. It includes those bumpy times. Someone the other day was talking about it as being those wobbly moments
Yes.
where we may not be in sure footing, but that we are able to, make our way through and look back on. And whether we see that as we call a kind of failing forward, where you may recognize that you messed up or something didn't go the way you wanted, but how you've grown from that and may approach things differently in the future. And I loved that you shared that situation, because I'm sure it was very uncomfortable. And
Well, first of all, I spent hours
of course.
I spent so many hours. I found the video online. I think the Digication that you're talking about. For one of the training videos, I wanted to teach my teammates about creating a PowerPoint, an effective PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great video about it. And it was like, I'll say 20 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And I shrunk it down to about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I really had to cut it up. And I spent so many hours on it. And I was so excited to show my team. And then they couldn't hear. They couldn't hear the video at all. I'm like, what the heck? Why is it not working? And then I just said, okay, well, this is, like you said, having experiences like that really teaches you that what you need to do next time, how you need to be prepared. So when I do, for example, an interview with someone, I make sure I have my phone next to me too, to also record the interview in case for some reason the computer doesn't record the sound, and it really has taught me how to be prepared. The reflection part of those Digications are really essential, because I think a lot of people are afraid of failing. Of course, they don't know, even not just failing, they're just afraid of, in general, not of the unknown. They're afraid of the unknown. And reflecting on those things and figuring out what you could have done for the next time, it really builds resilience. It really builds problem solving skills and prepares you for the future, for whatever you're going to do in the future. It's really important. My daughter, she's, like I said, she's working. She finished her psychology degree. She wishes that she took communication because a lot of the things that I've learned, she really wanted to learn more about, and she ended up doing. Right now, she's working on her dancing degree. But I told her, even though you don't want to further pursue your psychology degree, you've learned so much from it, and it's not just about psychology. Again, it's about problem solving, working with others, critical thinking, like all those things that will keep with you forever. And she also became interested in body language too, because she saw I was studying it, And now she realizes that a lot of the things that she learned in psychology or what she studied about body language, she uses as a dancing instructor. She sees if someone's uncomfortable or if they want to ask a question. So she does use those skills. It's not, of course, it's never gone to waste. She has a psychology degree. If she wants another job, she has that to back her, you know? And I'm trying to get my son to understand those things too. He's in high school right now, and I tell him, ask questions. It's okay if you fail. I think I tried to practice for a while. I've seen a parent asking their child, "Oh, what did you fail at today?" to try to reflect on that. It didn't last very long. I did try to get him into it, but I wanted him to understand it is okay to make mistakes. But if you make a mistake, you can also ask questions until you get help or find the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think you mentioned is he in college yet or not yet?
No, he just started high school. He's
Okay.
in ninth
He just
grade.
started high school.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But what wonderful conversations to be having with him at this stage. I have a recent high school graduate and 2 juniors right now. And I understand the challenge sometimes in getting them to talk about their day, especially saying, where did you screw up today?
I've learned that right when they get out of school, no, they're not going to talk about it. But as soon as it's time for somebody to go to bed, like if I want to go to bed,
exactly.
all of a sudden there's a whole long conversation. I try to throw it in, throughout the day though. When we're listening to a song and the subject comes up, or when we're watching TV, I do try to make those moments. I don't know if it annoys him. I mean, he engages in the conversation. Yeah, he engages in the conversation. So I do try to make certain learning moments, or I'll let him tell me things,
Mm-hmm.
I'll let him talk sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate those times where they, end up having to get stuck in the car with me. I feel like that's sometimes when the wonderful stories come out, and I try to just listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hear about their day. But it's so fun. So I was curious, now that you're a recent graduate and, already starting to do some new things in your career, thinking back on this, if you might have any advice for new students that might just be embarking on this, if there's maybe in communication or not, if you feel like it might be of value to students in other kinds of disciplines too, what advice would you have for students that may be new to the whole idea of a ePortfolio, or just taking time to think about how they might share who they are and what their experiences are with other people?
I would say, I have a lot of advice for this.
We want to hear it.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is to schedule, like time management. Work on your time management skills. Set goals for yourself, and you know what? Break them down. Okay, today, or at least this week, I will get a paragraph done, or I will design this spot. I don't know. On one of the Digication, someone told us to work backwards, kind of, because I think the very first page was just introducing ourselves, and that's the easy part. So they were just telling us to work backwards, and I would say also have fun with it, because like I said, that's what saved me. It's just being able to play with editing tools and photos and AI. It was really fun for me. I would say make friends. A friend that you can call or write to, and or even like on email, to see how things are going and ask questions. That would be the next advice, would be to ask questions, because with my last Digication, I had a mentor.
Yeah.
That was the purpose of having the mentor, to ask questions. I went to her to I think we had to go to the mentor at least 3 times. So in the beginning, to ask, how are we supposed to do this? And then, or I think even I was trying to figure out how to define the problem that I was working on, because my capstone Digication, we had to figure out a communication problem and an organization that it connected to. So I needed to define what I was working on. And that's really important, to understand where you're going with it, so that you can know how to set everything up. And asking questions with the mentor, showing her, I showed her my work the second time that I met with her, and she said, okay, you look like you're on track. And that helped me feel better about the project, because, there was positive feedback, or even if it wasn't positive, at least she would let me know what I needed to work on. And then the last one, she was just like, oh, you look like you're done. And I was like, really? Okay, I'm finished finally.
Breathe.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll enter it right now. It sounds like I'm done. I will enter it right now. and understand that you're going to change your mind on a lot of things. It's okay to just put it down, put all the work down first. I think I looked at someone's Digication in the beginning stages, and they literally just pasted their stuff on, and it was all over the place, but they just wanted to get their idea down, and then they organized it later. Just like they tell you to do when you're writing an essay or a story or something. Just get your ideas down and then edit it later. That way you don't block yourself. You just let it all out. So those would be the things that would be the advice that I would give. Time management, ask questions, get a friend, have fun. And I don't remember what was the last thing I said. Oh, get it all out.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make a mess. You can always clean it up later.
Yeah, exactly. I think we put more pressure on ourselves as students than the teachers do. And it's okay. Just realize that it's okay. I saw a college speech, valedictorian. I don't know how to say it properly.
I think you got
it. What he said was, he worked so hard in school that he realized that he missed out on a lot of things, like spending time with family and things like that. So I would say also create a balance for yourself. Make time for yourself, by yourself, make time for your friends, make time for your family, and make time for school. So create a good balance so that you don't go crazy.
That is good advice. That is good advice. Yeah. And we always, just in terms of the kind of tools and design and the platform, speaking to some of the things that you mentioned, we always try to make the tools approachable in such a way that you can start with something that is kind of unfinal, right? Yeah. So that you can keep growing it and changing it and moving things around if you need to. If you needed to move pages around or content from one page to another, that you can do that, and even create different versions of your ePortfolio along the way, depending on who you wanted to share it with. And having those mentors and friends around you is so important. So being able to share it with other people and get advice. And I was kind of curious, with the mentor that you had, were they another student at the school, or was it someone that worked in some kind of resource position at the school? How did you get connected?
Lucky for me, it happened to be my previous professor that was my training and development professor.
Wonderful.
So she had already saw my work before with my previous Digication. And so she knew, she assured me, she's like, I already know you got this. It's okay. But it was perfect because I was already, I already knew her, so
Nice.
she made me feel comfortable.
Good, good. Yes. Fostering those relationships. You mentioned that
Yes.
earlier in the conversation too.
Yes.
Yes.
And the first
Helpful.
education that we did, it was more about ourselves. Like I said, it was about the skills that we've acquired from the degree, from the course. And I think that was really important for us students to do because it made us one of my friends, she was like, hey, they called us a communication scholar, like as if we weren't, like we needed somebody to tell us it so we could recognize our accomplishments. And doing that Digication also allowed us to recognize those accomplishments and be like, okay, you know what, I am capable. Sometimes we might have imposter syndrome, like, okay, even though I'm learning this, it doesn't mean I'm an expert in it or that I know it. And I understand we're always growing, we're always learning the information, but the Digication helped me to realize that I have fostered these skills.
Yes.
And now I can be proud to say that I actually have them.
Yeah. Very validating.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. Hard to deny that you're a scholar when you see all of that work and growth together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Whitney, thank you again for joining me today. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and I so look forward to sharing our conversation with others.
Thank you. I enjoyed our conversation, and it just makes me more excited about learning more and sharing this information with others.
Wonderful. I hope that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This concludes our conversation. To hear our next episode, be sure to subscribe to Digication Scholars Conversations on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. The Digication Scholars Conversations series is brought to you by Digication, a technology platform powering the most innovative ePortfolio programs in K-12 and higher education. Our website can be found at digication.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for tuning in.